As far as we know, Jesus told about 35 parables. Only one was ever correctly understood before he explained it. I'm going to tell you that parable. It's at the very end of Jesus' life. The last time he's in the temple, all the religious leaders gather around trying to trap him in his words so that they can execute him on a cross. And they ask him, by what authority are you doing all these things? And he said, well, by what authority did John the Baptist do all his things? Because he is the one who pointed me out. He's my authority. Well, they can't answer because the people love John the Baptist, but they killed him, so they're in a conundrum. We don't know, they say. So Jesus says, well, then I don't know the answer to your question. But you want to hear a story? Once upon a time, there was this rich man who went on vacation or maybe to distant land. He sees this piece of property. And he says, that would make a great vineyard. So he buys the property, he builds the vineyard, but he has no one to work the vineyard. So he hires these local tenants. The agreement was that they would keep a certain percentage of the profits, but when harvest came, he would send a delegate and they would give him his agreed upon share. So he goes back home. Harvest time comes. He sends a delegate. Those wretched tenants killed the delegation come to collect the property. So when they're MIA, the owner sends another delegation. They did the same thing to them. After about 3 delegations, he is furious and says, I will send them my own son. They will have to respect my son. But they don't. When they see the son coming, they say to themselves, if we kill the son, the vineyard is ours. And Jesus asks the leaders around him, huge audience listening in, what do you think the owner of the vineyard will do to those miserable tenants? Well, he'll kill them all, they said. He said, that's right. And in that moment is the first time anyone correctly understood the meaning of Jesus' parable, because they realized, oh, he's talking about us. It was actually a very shrewd story to tell, because the leaders think if we kill Jesus, then the people will realize he's not the Messiah. And Jesus is saying, no, no, no. If you kill me, you actually prove I'm the Messiah. What's your text? It is Psalm 118, verse 22. It says, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. By rejecting Jesus, they are fulfilling prophecy that the Messiah would be rejected. That's brilliant. But this particular verse has 2 peculiarities. One is linguistic and one is architectural. The architectural peculiarity is with the word cornerstone. That Greek word actually identifies 3 different stones in architecture of ancient buildings. And we translate them by 3 different words: keystone, capstone, cornerstone. The cornerstone is just what it sounds like. You lay the stone in the corner. If it's level, if it's straight, the entire building is set right. The capstone was the huge thick stone that went on the top of the building as a ceiling over the pillars. In other words, it is the protection of the building. It is over the building. The third architectural feature was called a keystone. You build up an archway. You hold it up with scaffolding. The last stone you put in is shaped in kind of a V. Once that locks into place, everything else is stable. Each of these 3 stones accurately, theologically describes Jesus the Messiah. He is the beginning. He is the end. He's what holds everything in place. He is the Alpha and Omega. It just fits. So that's kind of brilliant. The second feature, though, of this poem is that it had, in the ancient world, as near as we can tell, it was prior to Jesus' time, it was paraphrased. And the Jews called these paraphrases of the Bible targumim. That's the plural. And these targumim were just kind of rewording the poem in a way that makes sense to the people. And this particular verse had been reworded in this way. The stone that the builders rejected was translated as, or paraphrased as, the lad, the boy. The boy that the builders rejected, and they specifically identified the boy as the son of Jesse, who would be installed as king. So the lad, the son of Jesse, that is David's father, that the builders rejected, would become the king. Wow, is that a specific paraphrase? Why would they say that? For this reason. In the Greek, or in the Hebrew, stone and boy sound a lot alike. B-E-N, Ben, is son. E-B-E-N is stone. So Ben or Eben, just one little breath makes the difference. That turn of phrase was very clever in the ancient rabbis, and Jesus used their own interpretation to identify that he, the son of Jesse, would be rejected, and that proves that he would be exalted. Now, one quick observation. This is the modus operandi of Jesus' life, that suffering precedes exaltation. It was true at the crucifixion and resurrection. It was true at his birth. It was true at his temptations in the wilderness before he was exalted as the Son of God. Listen, it is true of you as well. The life that Jesus modeled, exaltation following suffering, that is the way God works. Don't be surprised. Your own suffering doesn't indicate that God has rejected you. It proves that you are his child, that he will exalt.